Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Healthy Hearts program. This is our usual Tuesday evening program that brings you nutrition education, practical tips, and support from our Black nutritionists and dietitians. Each week for the past 3 years, we have brought to you several topics, nutrition and lifestyle related topics, ranging from management of lifestyle related diseases to so many diseases that I really can't recall everything. If you are interested in accessing any of these resources, please do go to the CAN YouTube page or the Facebook page, and then even LinkedIn, and you would have access to all of these resources. Now, a lot of the times when we bring an expert, the person does a presentation and then we have a question and answer session, at the last 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes we are not able to cover all the questions and we have to rush and end it because we have the exercise session that follows the nutrition session. Today, we decided not to have any presentation. We just want to have a pure Q&A discussion. So please do join us. All of those questions you've had. My experts are going to introduce themselves, so they'll tell you their areas of expertise. It cuts across a number of areas: type 2 diabetes, weight management, and others. They'll tell you about their areas of expertise. So please bring your questions wherever you are, Facebook, YouTube, or if you are joining us on the Zoom, drop your questions in the chat box and we will address these questions for you. Okay. So without much ado, I'm going to now ask our guests to introduce themselves. Yes, one of them is an old face, but Alistair, is always good when we still tell people who we are and what our backgrounds are. My name is Hibbah Osei. I'm a registered nutritionist. I'm a lecturer in nutrition as well. Thank you. So Alistair, do you want to go first?
Hiba, you're far too modest. You need to tell people more about what you do. Hiba is actually very well known in nutrition circles. So you should tell people more about what
Alistair
and how you've been spearheading a lot of the research for health inequalities in the African and Caribbean community. So
thank you.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Hiba. So that
thank you, Alistair.
You know, if she doesn't let you know.
So am I. That's why I keep having you come back. Thanks, Alistair.
Yes. But yeah, I'll introduce myself. I'm Alistair. I'm a diabetes specialist dietitian that works in the primary care world. So I'm based in a GP surgery. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about people, especially people from African and Caribbean backgrounds, just because our diets are so unique and are so misunderstood. So I get to stand in the gap as a diabetes specialist and bridge the gap between how healthy our foods can be and how we can use our healthy foods to treat conditions like type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, so all the forms of sort of diabetes. I do a lot of work in weight management as well, but diabetes is my baby. So if you have questions about sort of diabetes, I'm your guy today. It's a golden opportunity to ask me anything. No holds barred, and I'd be very happy to address any questions that you may have. So that's enough about me. I'm going to pass you on to Quayera now.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Fantastic. So my name is Kwayera. I'm a specialist I'm rolling off. I'm a specialist dietitian in the Yorkshire area, and I specialize in the frailty area. And I work with a lot of the elderly patients, ensuring that they recover well when they're admitted to the hospital and when they enter back into the community. Also cover conditions such as cancer, COPD, and patients from stroke. And also a bit of weight management because they cover undernutrition and overnutrition in both worlds. So I cover a lot of that patient group. And we aim to make sure people are staying well at home, independent, and out of hospital, and ensuring that they're well nourished is one of the most important things that we're covering at the moment, is ensuring that their nourishment is met and they're well within their self.
Thank you. I think we lost you a bit when you were talking about your areas of expertise. So apart from frailty, I think, wait, did you say cancer?
Cancer, COPD,
Right.
And
We lost you there. Yeah.
I'm just going to take the Wi-Fi off and just put
Okay.
it on my phone.
Okay. Nina, are you able to spotlight the three of us, please?
Okay.
Okay, so the floor is open now. Please do put your questions, in the chat, or you can send it to me privately if you want. Okay, I'm going to start with my question first. So this is not really from anyone. This is my own question, and it goes to Alistair. So it's today World Diabetes Day. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is World Diabetes Day, 14th November. Yes.
Great. So then this session is timely then, isn't it?
Yes.
So I've seen on one of those infographics that every diabetes is different. Now, just so people listening to us know what we do here, we're going to focus on the nutrition and lifestyle aspect of diabetes, because Khan organizes these healthy hour sessions every Saturday. So all of those other aspects will be handled, and I'm sure this has been done a lot of times. So let's focus on the nutrition and lifestyle aspects of any disease we talk about. So bringing this to our context as nutritionists and dietitians, every diabetes is different. How does this relate to nutrition, our dietary behaviors? What does that mean in terms of management of diabetes?
Yeah, it's actually a very good question. And if I was to just answer it very simply, it's making sort of the advice we give to people individualized, as opposed to coming from like a more general basis. Everyone has a very individual sort of lifestyle, the way people sort of go to work, take their lunch breaks, prepare their food. There are a lot of, let's just say, similarities between people, but there's also a lot of individual sort of quirks that people will have. So whenever I'm seeing people in clinic, I address individuals as individuals and help them to sort of pick apart, sort of parts of their diet, and just do what's best for them. If I was to say simply, it's just doing what's best for individuals, as opposed to sort of giving them blanket, diet sheet, or just sort of blanket dietary advice.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to just follow that up with another one, because you hear a lot of people within our community saying things like, oh, whenever I eat rice, my sugar level spikes. And because of that, they would, they kind of tell other people not to eat rice. What do you say about, is this related to that? Does that mean that people shouldn't be focusing, you don't listen to what someone is saying, and then because of that, just decide to stop eating certain foods? Is that related to that? That's what I want you to.
Yeah. It is because there are a lot of sort of like blanket health messages that are out there, and for some people, maybe they're struggling with how much rice they eat, and because of that, it's having an adverse effect on their blood sugar control. But then Kwayera will see someone in clinic who's frail, who's elderly, who maybe has a very, very low body weight, who actually needs to make sure that they're actually having things like rice that are more sort of nutritionally dense within their diet, to make sure that they can maintain their weight, despite them having diabetes as well. Because obviously it's not the rice that's the problem. It's just being able to help them to portion size well enough so that it doesn't affect their blood sugars adversely, but at the same time gives them the benefits and health that they need. Because actually, cutting out something as useful as rice, which is a huge staple in both the African and Caribbean diet, then puts you at risk of, sort of maybe like it could be other deficiencies, or just puts you at risk of not being able to get the nutrition that you require. But yeah, Quera, you might be able to add to that actually with regards
to... do you want to add something to that, please?
Yeah,
definitely, because you touched on the point of information being personalized. And often I see patients that have had maybe information about managing their diabetes maybe 10 years ago. And as they're aging, their information now needs to change because their condition maybe requires them to up their calories. And also when we up our calories, they also should be seeking advice of the specialist diabetes team to make sure that if they are on medication, it is matching their medication. And also when someone's losing weight, the last thing we want them to do is to be worried so much about managing their diabetes. They should be seeking support for the weight loss. But yeah, definitely things like having a blanket ban on food does not work for patients as they're aging in the community. We need them to have their individual nutrition advice.
Indeed.
Thank you, Kwayera.
Hiba, does that answer the question?
It does. But I mean, even though you say we shouldn't be following those blanket nutrition advice, there are certain questions that keep coming. They keep coming within our community. So I'm still going to ask. You've just said we shouldn't have those blanket nutrition advice, but people tend to say, oh, people living with diabetes shouldn't eat plantain. Have you heard that before?
Oh, I've heard that so many times. When I was working in Northwest London, I had someone who came in crying in clinic, crying, tears in their eyes, because they've been told by someone in the past, a doctor in the past, that they shouldn't be having any plantain because it's worsening their diabetes. And they've been referred to me, and they made me feel like I was a head teacher telling them off in school. Oh, why have you gone back to eating plantain when you know your diabetes is poorly controlled? And what I was telling them was actually maybe there are other things that could really be driving it. And when we did a bit of an exploration, we saw that this individual was having a lot of sugary drinks that they didn't realize were sugary drinks. So from a diabetes perspective, even for patients with sort of frailty, the main thing that we sort of tell people not to do is maybe avoid like fresh fruit juices, for example, or fresh fruit juices, because it's absorbed in a very, very different way than maybe having a small plate of plantain and some vegetables will have on your blood sugars, because those fresh fruit juices are going to definitely cause your blood sugars to spike. It just takes 200 mils of orange juice, and that 200 mils of orange juice is about 18 grams of pure glucose, because that's what orange juice is, the sugars in orange juice are. And that glucose gets in your bloodstream within 15 minutes, all 18 grams of it. Whereas if you had a whole plantain is about 50 grams of carbohydrate. So that half of a plantain, if you had that maybe fried or maybe steamed, or if you had it boiled or baked, it's going to take, a good 30 to 45 minutes at least to get into your bloodstream. But if you've had it with other foods, it's going to take a lot longer. So you're not going to get the spike. You're just going to get a nice gentle curve that makes your blood sugars look actually fairly nice. But the portion control of it is important, because plantain, it can break down fairly quickly if you're not careful. And if you're having large volumes of it, it means you're going to get this. It starts as a steady curve and then it spikes later on. So portion control is the most important thing, and making sure that that you're getting as many veggies as possible, because it's just going to slow down the absorption of the whole meal. Because some people, what they do is they're a bit they go carb heavy, so there's not a vegetable in sight. It's just the carb there, and then you've got plenty of like protein on the plate, but there's no veg to help you to slow it down and make you feel full and things like that.
Thank you, Alistair. Now that we're talking about these foods, I worry we might just end up still talking about diabetes, but these are things I hear every day, and that's why I want to keep bringing these things so we can clarify them here, because I think there are a lot of these myths within our community. Now, let's talk about white bread and brown bread. Again, what is the advice for people living with diabetes? Are they supposed not to eat bread? Are they supposed to just focus on brown bread? We know.
Yeah. So from coming from a diabetes perspective, ideally, if you could move over to like a seeded or like granary bread, brilliant. Only because it's just going to take longer to absorb in your bloodstream. So you can still have the bread, but you're just changing the type of bread that you're having, so that once again you can enjoy something you like without it having an adverse effect on your blood sugar control. But once again, the key message is portion control. So I've had people in clinic come to me and say, I swapped to brown bread, but my blood sugars have not improved. And then you find out that they're having like 5 slices of brown bread with with their scrambled eggs in the morning. And, we're just explaining that actually, we're manipulating the wrong thing here. What we really should be looking at is making sure that your portion size of carbohydrate is good, and then having the best kind of carbohydrate for your blood sugar control, so that you can have a nice wide and very varied diet in that respect. So so bread tends to get a bad rap in diabetes, but it's definitely still on the menu. Like from a frailty perspective, what is the like verdict on bread in the sort of frailty community?
Yeah. You're on mute, please.
Oh, I've got you muted, sorry.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, a lot of my patients still have other conditions, and some of them have diabetes. And you know, you can imagine, Alistair, you have two patients. One might be very well at controlling their carbohydrate intake, and often in some cases too well controlled. So I have to say to them, look, I think your fiber intake is so high that it's slowing down how much energy you can get in one sitting. So we have to lower some of the vegetable intake, lower the fiber intake. We have to, sometimes if someone's coming out of hospital and they historically were on a seeded brown bread, I have to say, well, can we swap to maybe a white bread for now and then go back, just so you can recover well in the community? Because we want to get into your system, we want to keep you out of hospital, and we just want to make sure that you're well and you're maximizing each of the nutritional sittings when you're eating. But if someone's on a high fiber diet, high, you know, brown bread, brown pasta, that often can delay how much energy we can get into that person, because they're feeling full. Maybe the process of their aging is making them have a poor appetite, a low appetite. All these things come into play. So we want to make sure that they're not over restricting themselves. I had a patient recently which was having Slimming World, and they had no idea why they were doing it. It was just out of a routine of 15 years ago. They thought it was a good idea, and because of the media telling them that they needed to be on these things, I mean, this person was nowhere near needing any of this stuff. And it caused a bit of an issue. And I mean, people are admitted to hospital because they're not getting enough.
Kwayera, I'm interested in that particular story. Was that person from within our community, so like African Caribbean?
Funny enough, there's I've had two patients, one from the European community and one person from the Afro-Caribbean community. One particular patient hadn't had a banana for, I think, 10 years plus. I met this patient in hospital, actually, and she hadn't had a banana for 10 years plus because she'd always been told it was bad for her, it was high in sugar. And you'll be surprised that there are people out there that would stick to the advice so strict and rigidly that they will not deviate. And then you say, okay, look, let's relax a bit. Let's introduce some of these foods. Let's have as Alistair said, let's have a portion control. We're not telling you to have 3 bananas in one day, and we're not telling you to have multiple fruits in one sitting. Stick to a portion size. This is an acceptable portion size. With some of my patients, I tell them to buy the lunchbox items because they're easier to count in terms of energy. Have like a fun size banana. We know what we're having. You're fine to have that. And then on the frailty patients, I need to then tell them, look, you know, let's have stuff like have a scone, you know, have 2 scones if you want, because their intake is so poor. We just need to get it in them quite rapidly.
So Hiba, as you can see, there's like it's so important, so important to like individualize information for people, just because, as you can hear, like, you know, when it comes to frailty, you know, the management is about making sure you are optimizing nutritional status at every given opportunity. And then in someone who's sort of younger, who's more well, who's more fit, you know, in those sorts of cases, we're really trying to sort of promote just like once again, optimizing at every mealtime, but so that your blood sugars can be as well controlled as possible, which would mean sort of higher fiber, which would mean more fruits and more sort of veggies, especially, and things like that. Because you know, as we get older, you know, our nutrition is changing throughout those sort of stages of life. So I'll have like a young, maybe sort of 16-year-old boy who will come into clinic, and his requirements are right up there. I'm talking, he could need up to 3,500 calories a day, especially if he's someone who's nice and fit, you know. And even at that 3,500 calories a day, he wouldn't actually gain any extra weight. He would just maintain his weight, and you would just see him go out there playing football, playing basketball, going to meet his friends, all that sort of stuff. That same gentleman will get to the age of maybe 26, 27, and his nutritional requirements drop significantly. He's no longer producing all that human growth hormone. And as a result, the way he eats and the portion sizes that he could manage when he was a 16-year-old lad who could do anything, it changes, and that's where, like, things like, the dad bods start to come, because you get a lot of gentlemen, who are like sort of 26 to 35, who are eating like they were 16-year-old boys still, and they're wondering why they're sort of gaining all this weight when their bodies just don't require us as much. So nutrition is just changing throughout life all the time. So dealing with it on an individual basis is probably the best way, and not overcomplicating it for yourself either. But yeah, next question, Hiba.
Thank you, Alistair. Yes, Quayera, did you want to come in?
Yeah, because what you said there with the changes through aging is really important, because I'm working across two teams, and one of the teams is the frailty team, which is we only see people over 65. Now, I still see patients that are in the adult team, their 18 go up. Now, one of the biggest things at the moment, which is becoming a problem, is when people are retiring from very active jobs, builders, really physical jobs, eating in such a good routine that when they retire, they actually don't require that energy. And then they actually go into storing huge amounts of energy. And then you can imagine that can cause an issue going forward in life, because if you're now storing huge amounts of energy, if you then need hip replacements, knee replacements, and before you know it, things spiral out of control. So one of the things that I'm pushing for people to do at the moment is to make sure that they maintain a set amount of energy when they're throughout their day. They're not sedentary. I know I think we spoke about maintaining activity levels is very important for aging well. Try to achieve a step count, and if you don't have a step meter, then you just try and walk a mile, or just be active as best as you can, because go into retirement and you stop, that is a big problem in our aging community.
Definitely.
Okay, there's a question from Facebook. So does fat make us fat, or does high carbs and sugar make us fat, possibly leading to type 2 diabetes?
I love this question. Heather. And the reason I love it is because all of the main sort of macronutrients that we eat, carbohydrates, fat, protein, they all contain calories. We all have a set amount that we require. If you overeat any single one of those macronutrients, you are going to gain excess weight, especially if you're not physically active. I had some.
Alistair, let's break that down.
Oh yes.
So you said the macronutrients. Exactly what did you mean by that? Let's list all of them.
Carbohydrates, number one.
Carbohydrates.
So this is your bread, rice, pasta, potato, plantain, yam, fufu. All of those guys, every single one of those guys comes under that banner of carbohydrates. And yes, your fruits and fruit juices as well. Number two, your proteins. So your chicken, your fish. You've also got plant proteins in there as well, like lentils, beans. Quera, help me out with plant proteins.
You got your beans, your pulses, you got your soya, which is your tofu, all the things that are now, from a vegetarian diet.
Exactly.
And pulses that people predominantly be on.
Indeed. And then obviously the last is your fats. So, that could be your saturated fats like coconut oil, like palm oil, and then your unsaturated fats like, sort of olive oil, rapeseed oil, canola oil, those sorts of things. And oh yeah, you're saying Kwayera, sorry?
Oh, sorry, I was just adding on omega-3s.
Yes, and your omega-3s and things like that come from like your oily fish, so fish oils and things like that. If you overconsume any one of those areas, you are going to gain excess weight. So I had someone sort of come into clinic not so long ago, who was doing the carnivore diet. So they were just only doing meat and fish. That was it. And they were really annoyed that they just could not break through their weight plateau. This person was stuck. And I asked them, oh, so what's the problem? What's the problem? Like, why are you not able to get to that plateau? I pushed it to them. And they were saying, well, I'm doing what I should be doing. I've cut out carbs. I'm not having any excess fat. But then what they were doing was they would have like sort of 3 chicken thighs in the morning for breakfast. And then the afternoon will come, they'd have a rump steak. And then in the evening, they would once again follow up with another sort of rump steak. And I was asking them how they were cooking these steaks, and they would say that they would use a bit of oil, a bit of butter. So just a tiny amount on top of, you know, this red meat, which does contain a lot of natural saturated fat anyway. And when we calculated it, we could see that this person was actually consuming about 2,500 calories a day. And when we estimated their requirements, we found that for weight loss, this person needed about 1,600 calories a day. So they were over consuming by about 1,000 calories. And this was just coming from, yes, the protein and the saturated fat within the protein. So once you know what your maintenance, let's just say, level is, your maintenance calories are, and the thing is, there's a really good, easy way of testing that. If you weigh yourself once a week, every week, and your weight is staying the same, you know that whatever you're eating day by day is keeping you where you are. And you just look for very, very simple areas that you could eat, make an easy cut. For example, if you're over consuming biscuits between your meals, if you cut those out, let's just say it was like a chocolate digestive, if you cut out maybe 2 or 3 of those, it would put you in enough of a calorie deficit to maybe lose half a kilo. And you could test it yourself. You can go and test it, you know, over the next 2 weeks and see, oh, okay, by cutting out those biscuits, how much weight was I able to naturally lose? Or maybe by doing an extra workout in the week, things like that. So it's just, there are these really, really little sort of nuances that are very, very simple to do, because a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are following a fairly okay diet, actually. And or what they need to do is actually just take a look at, number one, portion size control, and number two, what are you doing with your physical activity? Are you as physically active as you were before? If you've still got the fitness, why are you not? Or what's getting in the way of you making that time for it? But I might be going too far now, because that wasn't the question. Yeah.
Kwayera, did you have anything to add to that? Because I was just about.
Very interesting, and I guess the reason why sometimes our advice can be quite broad is because, one, we can't see the person asking the question. For example, I had someone that came in, and often in my patient group, we can have people come in pairs, they come in twos. So you have the elderly person and the daughter or the son. And what they're again following some advice that is for general people or for people to lose weight. So I had a daughter giving the advice to her mum that she should have a low-fat diet. Now, the mum was very slim and actually needed the energy, because, as we know, fat is the highest form of energy for us to have in our body. So she needed that energy, but she had the fear of having the fat because of her daughter's judgment on the fat. So we are, that's why I'm very keen on people understanding their body, having the advice tailored to them, and also understanding where they fit in terms of their family genetics and their family history. So if am I following mum's style of eating, or am I following dad's style of eating, granddad, grandma, you know, where does it fall, and how much fat is too much fat? It's all very individual. Obviously, within the guidelines of healthy eating, we don't want people to have excess amounts of fat. But some people can manage a quarter of an avocado with toast and some fried plantain. That's fine for them. But some people probably, like Alistair said, it's not actually those items that are causing the issue. There's some other items that maybe come into play that have a bit more of an issue that we need to look at and do a bit of a calculation on and say, okay, right, we often can pinpoint the items that we are the easy culprits, but they're not really the main ones causing the problem. So it's just individual, having a balanced plan.
Thank you, Kwayera. Now, I think one theme that keeps coming up from the two of you is that personalized nutrition, individualized nutrition. How does anyone living in the UK get access to a dietitian? What's the process?
Well, you
go first. You go first.
Up in North, it's my understanding that everyone is entitled to see a dietitian. Now, we are aware that sometimes GP surgeries are pressured and pushed and all that sort of thing, but everyone is entitled, if they have any nutritional concern, they can request to see a dietitian. especially up north. So I push for people to request to speak to someone. We often can speak to a lot of health professionals, and sometimes people don't like the answer that they get, but it's a starting point, because I encourage people to know their numbers. Alistair's diabetes, I encourage people to know where they are on their numbers in our community. And a lot of people I come into contact with, I ask them about how's your vitamin D? Have you got any issues with your calcium? Have you got any cholesterol issues? And they often respond with, I've been told it's fine. I don't know what fine is, because it's not enough for me to work with, because when I look at a patient's record, I can see where they are. And sometimes a lot of patients are borderline deficient, and I need to get that up. And I know that we do a lot better on a higher vitamin D status. When our D level is low, that's we're normally suffering from poor states of health. So we need to get that high. So knowing your numbers, and I'm not saying you're going to be an expert in your numbers, but if you do have a family member that specializes in different areas, you have access to, it's best to come with your numbers and just say, look, my numbers is XYZ. What can I do? If you go and see a dietitian, they can refer you on if you need to be referred on for extra replacement therapy treatment, or if you need to have a community intervention where you can see a nutritionist, you can see different people in the community. GP practices have access to these things. So by all means, go and get the support you need.
Ask for it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, sort of down here, like in the South, very, very similar situation. So, I'm based in a GP surgery. So anyone who lives in my area in sort of Reading, who's registered to the GP surgery I'm at, can actually just go to the front desk and book. Literally book if they're concerned. As Quera said, it's very, very important. Know what your numbers are, so that we can sort of home in on those particular issues. Like if you have a family history of hypercholesterolemia, so you've got high cholesterol in your family, you've maybe heard an auntie say that she has high cholesterol, or like your father say that he has high cholesterol. You haven't had your blood test done to check if that could be you as well. We implore you to definitely get that done after the age of 40. Most people will be invited for an NHS health check anyway. So my advice to you is, when your GP surgery sends you a text and says you are eligible for that health check,
make sure you go.
Make sure you go, because prevention is better than cure. If you find out that maybe you're in the pre-diabetes range, so I know someone will probably ask about pre-diabetes soon. There is so much evidence now showing us that we can delay a lot of type 2 diabetes diagnosis, just by support with weight management, support with a bit of dietary intervention, and then making sure that we're optimizing you from an exercise perspective as well. So there's so much sort of support out there. And then if you're not looking at the traditional sort of NHS means, dietitians are also available privately as well. So you can find us, on Instagram. There are dietitians who sort of do programs sort of on YouTube. Reach out to sort of some of these dietitians. Make sure that they are registered under the HCPC, because some people who come online will say they're a dietitian based in the UK, but when you look up for them on the HCPC register, the name isn't there. So, so you have to really question what level of credentials they have and whether they are using evidence-based information to support you. So, we are all over the place. So whether it's through the NHS, whether it's through private means, you can find.
Yeah. Right. Let me just try and get a bit of a yes, Kwayera.
I'll just quickly add to that, because we also with the stress of knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is down south, but I encourage everyone to get your record opened up so you can access it on the NHS app. So if you haven't done it, it might feel long-winded to get it going, but once you get that going, you can get the updates, you can see what's actually being spoke about. Your numbers will be available, the biochemistry tab, and you can. I encourage everyone to just have access to your record.
Can you tell us how people can do that, please?
So, depending on the surgery, I know some people have some difficulties getting it. So that can be a challenge. But with my surgery, you go in and you request that you have access to your record. It did take a while. Then they asked me to just sign something at the reception, which was quite straightforward. And then my record was open. So then I was able to link on the NHS app. So if I want to have a look at my biochemistry today, I can look at it. If I go and have my bloods done tomorrow, and they say it's going to be ready in 3 days' time, I can have a look at it before it gets to the GP surgery, relying on the GP to give me a call to say something is wrong or right. Even though I don't encourage people to try and interpret your bloods, but if you went to another health professional, sometimes the records aren't all linking together. They're trying to improve on that, but they're not always linking. So it's quite handy. You can give them your record and you can just show them you've recently had your bloods done.
Thank you. That's really useful information. I just wanted a bit more engagement from the group. So I was going to ask if anyone has requested to see a dietitian from their GP. I was just going to ask the group, has anyone ever had access to a dietitian through their GP before? Or even privately? Is Martha on here? I saw her earlier on because there's a time she was asking. Because I know lots of people I come across are always asking, how do I get access to? So whenever I meet people like you, I'm always asking, do you come across, Afro-Caribbeans? Do you come across Black people? Because a lot of the people that I know, this is when I lived in Manchester, were not accessing dietitians. Some people didn't know you could even access some through your GP.
Yes.
Has anyone here ever seen a dietitian? No, I don't think so. People would have responded. Yeah, people usually don't. And that is why I was interested in the story you were telling me earlier on, Alistair, where you are, do you see lots of Black people? Do people come?
It's a mix. It's a mix. So the area that I'm working in Reading, it's like in the north of Reading.
Okay.
It's like a nice healthy mix between Caucasians, Asians, and people from the African and Caribbean sort of populations. I think one of the best things about individuals like me and Quayera, being from an Afro-Caribbean background, is that whenever you see people from Afro-Caribbean populations, they are so happy to see us in clinic. It just really breaks the ice. You don't even have to build rapport. It's just there, like it's an unwritten, unspoken sort of rapport, because they already know you're gonna understand.
You understand.
Quera will tell you that when we were training to become dietitians, there was a huge focus on very Eurocentric sort of diets and dietary advice. But we know that our population now in the UK is becoming so metropolitan,
very diverse.
So it just means that we as clinicians have to be very, very nuanced in how we speak to people about diet, and actually bring our own experiences, and sort of do the research on our foods, so that we can make sure that people have access to the foods that they love, without the stigma of, the African diet is too high in carbs, or the Caribbean diet is too high in saturated fats, things like that. So but I guess while people are waiting, what I can say is what to expect if you come and see one of us in clinic. Like what is the experience like? Well, what will happen is you'll walk through the doors. We will introduce ourselves, and we always give, because we have a lot of time, sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes an hour to see you for the first time. We will use that first 15 minutes to just find out a little bit more about your actual routine. So I base my consultations around sort of 5 things. So the first thing is, what is your actual working schedule like if you are working? Because that's very, very important. If you're a shift worker, it could be very, very difficult to make a lot of dietary changes at once. We might just need to focus on just one thing, if you're shift working, and that will usually be around meal planning and prepping, and how you can do that. Number 2, I always ask people about sleep. So you wouldn't expect a dietitian to ask you about sleep, but it's very important. A lot of people want to make a lot of dietary changes, but actually they are getting 3-4 hours of sleep a night because maybe they're up late at night, looking at videos, or they're struggling to sleep because of maybe some things that have happened to them emotionally throughout the day. And with the less sleep you get, the harder it is with weight loss and other things like that. Number 3, I will usually ask people about their relationship with food as well. Some people have a very bad relationship. So maybe things traumatically in their past, maybe food was used to abuse them. Maybe they were told very harmful messages that they've carried through with them. So they have that deep-seated trauma, around maybe making a change to their diet. Maybe they feel as if they will never be able to lose weight. So I like to, sort of hinge in on that sort of psychological basis first, if I'm dealing with people with type 2 diabetes or weight management. Number 4, actually, that's when I come in on diet. So I go through all those areas first, because knowing the way someone lives their life makes it a bit easier to provide a bit more support with what you can do with them from a dietary basis. Some people are very motivated, so no matter what's going on in their life, it's fine. They can make the change, and you don't even have to see that person again. They just need you for that little bit, that nugget of wisdom. But other people, there are just so many things going on that you might have to give them a bit of support dealing with one of those other things, And then the last area, after we've gone through that, it'll be the motivation and like the plan, So I then ask people, how motivated are you to actually make these changes? And do you know what doing this will do for you over the next 6 months? How different your life could be in 6 months. I like to paint that picture of the future so people have something to hope for, to work towards if they don't have that internal driver for, motivation. I give them something to hold on to. Like, I had a lady who, she was 65, she was enjoying her life, but her diabetes control was so poor, but she enjoys taking care of her grandkids. Her grandchildren were her motivation. I told her that if you want to see your grandchildren get married, which is a very real thing, that's you being alive for the next 20 years, improving your diabetes control will safeguard your progress towards getting there. But if you don't even think about it. Don't dream about it, because it won't happen. Because we see it happen, your life expectancy gets cut 15 years with type 2 diabetes, 15 years just taken off you. And just by making a few changes, you can just prolong not just your actual life, but the quality of life you live. So instead of you maybe sitting in your grandchild's wedding, with sort of crutches and with other comorbidities, you could be sitting there fit, healthy, and able to dance when when that great music comes on, and they're dancing and enjoying themselves at the event. So so that's basically what to expect if you'd come and see
a visit to the dietitian.
And that's any one of us. That's any one of us.
Yeah.
A question has just come into my private chat. It says that I eat once a day. Is that healthy? I eat once a day. Is that healthy? Yeah, it just goes on with dot. Is that healthy?
Kwayera, you want to take that one?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, both me and Alistair are going to have a quite strong point on that. And my point will be that my patients that do well in age have 3 meals a day. Now, I know people can have 1 meal a day for an extended period of time, but I'm talking about, I don't promote anything that you can't do for the next 30 years. Now, if you're eating once a day and it's just for a short period of time, then that's not going to be good for anyone. Because if you're eating 1 meal a day, how much of the nutrients can you get into that 1 meal? The recommendation is to have 5 fruit and vegetables a day. The real recommendation is probably 10 fruit and vegetables a day. So by eating once a day, how much vegetables are you having on your plate? So if you're having a huge amount of food, let's say half your plate was vegetables, a good amount of fiber, then what's the reason for pressuring your stomach to that extent? And you would not be balancing it with the right balance of carbohydrate. So we don't want to do that. And also the patients that I see that are 95, 105, they are quite strict on how they eat. Food also becomes quite a nice little routine. 1 meal I wouldn't recommend. I just wouldn't recommend it, because you can't do it for the next 30 years. your crash and burn. And if you have been doing it since birth, then maybe that's a different question, because we've heard about people that generally have 1 or 2 meals a day. But if you're living in the Western society and last summer you had 3 meals a day, not a good idea.
Thank you, Kwayera. Let me bring in a very controversial topic. Again, I've had people asking me this, they're like, dietitians, nutritionists keep confusing us. Sometimes we say intermittent fasting is good. And then other times we come back and we tell people eat 3 meals a day. Alistair and Kwayera, please, what are your thoughts on this?
I'll take this one, because we get this a lot in diabetes.
You get that all the time.
You do get that all the time, don't you?
Weight management as well. So when it comes to intermittent fasting, we need to remember that intermittent fasting is actually, think of it as an intervention, So an intervention is not something that you do long term. And there are different types of intermittent fasting. The most well-known intermittent fasting example is like the 16-8. So where you, some people do it both ways, where they eat for 16 hours, fast 8, or they eat for 8 hours and fast for 16. So actually, yeah, so that's the more known, eat for 8 hours, fast for 16. You just have to think about how much nutrition you're going to be able to get within that 8 hours, and the fact that you're living a life on the outside of that as well. People are going to work, you're working 8 hours a day as well. So, how much nutrition are you going to be able to get within that period of time? So for people who are, let's just say, morbidly obese, desperately trying to lose weight, intermittent fasting can be useful, mostly because you're putting your body in a forced calorie deficit. You're forcing your body to go into a calorie deficit. So you're definitely going to get the results. You definitely will. The thing about being in a calorie deficit, though, is our body is very clever and adapts within 12 weeks, just 12 weeks, Hiba, 12 weeks. And then whatever progress you were making, that rapid, maybe 5 kilos that you were losing, maybe a week every 2 weeks at the beginning,
it plateaus.
Yeah, comes to a plateau, because your body gets used to it. And it either you stress it out further by increasing the fasting, which we would never recommend, or you stress it out further by actually really amping up your exercise. And actually, often we find that when people need to amp up their exercise, we actually need to increase their calorie intake a little bit to make up for that energy that they require during that period of needing to increase exercise and things like that. So intermittent fasting has its usefulness and its utility. Is it a long-term lifestyle thing to do? Definitely not. I can say that with my hand on my chest, with my head held high. It's not a lifestyle thing that you should do long-term. And the thing is, people will argue and say that it is their lifestyle and it's been able to work for them. And we just fall back on what we were saying before, the fact that there are some people, everyone's metabolism is so individual. Some people, that is just how they can live and it's fine for them. But it doesn't mean that it's how everybody live. Yeah. Like, there are some people who can actually, let's just say, eat a very, very high fat diet, and actually it has fairly limited impact on maybe their cholesterol levels and things like that. I've actually seen this happen, and I was shocked that the person took my breath away, because I couldn't believe that. I wanted so bad to prove them wrong, but I could see that actually their metabolism could handle it. How long it's going to be able to handle it for, who knows?
You don't know.
We don't know.
We don't have the research evidence to back this as well. The long-term impact. Yeah. No. It's fact, not there.
With intermittent fasting, the research is 15 years old at present. We don't really have anything else before that, and they're still looking into the long-term effects of how that could work. And then you get people who also say, oh well, if you think about like our ancestors, or maybe back in like the not the Jurassic period, but like the caveman period, people following those kinds of diets, they'll say, yeah, well, those people would have 1 meal a day, they'd fast for maybe 3 or 4 days and do all that sort of stuff. The question I always ask them is, so do you know what their life expectancy was? Do you know how long those individuals lived for? Like, do you know what sort of diseases they were having to fight against? You know, they had to make a lot of adaptations to survive during those periods. And we know that those people, they weren't living 100 years, you know, 50, 60 years gone. And then you know, the next generation was coming and taking over. So that sort of 3 meals a day or regular eating pattern, not giving it more than, let's just say 6 hours, you know, between meal, you know, without having a meal, has been the most useful pattern for actually longevity and being able to live a long time without comorbidities. That's proven, you know, and that's what the research is supports time and time again.
Thank you, Alistair. Kwayera and Alistair, you both mentioned cholesterol at some point. Can we just answer 1 or 2 questions on that? Are there any foods we should be avoiding if we have high cholesterol?
Well, the key one we want to lower is our saturated fat. And that often comes into play when majority of the patients that I see, once they've lowered their saturated fat and increased their fiber, that effect of lowering one thing, increasing the fiber, that tends to work quite quickly, actually. I think one of our case studies, a patient, we turned around their bloods in a short period of time and their bloods were balancing back out. So it's achievable. And a lot of
Where do we find the saturated fats?
In all your animal foods, in all your animal products. So if you're consuming red meat more than twice a week, which isn't recommended, I think at the moment we only recommend it once a week. If you're consuming lots of if you're consuming chicken and you've got the skin on still, then you're gonna have an increase of that fat. Frying foods, we don't fry foods. And one thing that our community may often do sometimes is fry foods and keep the oil. We don't want to do that. We really don't want to do that. I know things are expensive. That's why we want to go to roasting. Try oven roast your field, grill, you know, bake your stuff a lot more. That has a big impact. But increasing your vegetables is one of my number one go-to, because majority of people do not have enough vegetables in their diet.
Thank you, Quera. Honorable, I have an honorable member here who wants to ask a question. Please, are you able to unmute yourself? Do I have to? Are you able to?
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I on now?
Yes,
can you hear me?
You. Yes, we can.
Yeah, my name is Honorable Kwayera. My question is just a little one. I was driving, so I couldn't. Now I've parked and just wanted to know about this omega-3. I heard you talking about omega-3. I have known this 7Cs in the olden days. They called it cod liver oil.
Yes.
What's the difference between cod liver oil and then omega-3?
Yes. So with cod liver oil, it's you know, a sort of special blend of fish oils. You can get some omega-3s in there, and sometimes they fortify it with omega-3s. But with omega-3 tablets on their own, they contain the pure. There's 2 types of omega-3, one called DHA and one called EHA. And omega-3s, they basically work by helping you to produce the right kind of cholesterol that clears from your system. And it helps to lower the type of cholesterol that tends to deposit itself around the sort of like ring of your arteries, or the lumen of your sort of arteries and things like that. So yes, it's very, very useful. However, what the studies will tell you is that with omega-3 tablets themselves, or omega-3 capsules, there have been quite a few studies that have shown that they have increased individuals base cholesterol level, just because that is what that's basically what you're adding. You're basically adding loads of extra isolated fatty acids into your system, and they are actively raising cholesterol. And what the studies were showing was that having a diet that is very high in omega-3 fatty acids, such as, well, not high, but has a certain amount of them, so like 2 portions of oily fish a week, which is 2 portions of salmon, just 2 fillets of salmon with, with one or two of your meals throughout the week, can help to lower cholesterol better than taking those particular tablets. So yeah, food is the best source, because actually, if you think about, sort of having the omega-3s in something like salmon on the side of the plate, you may have maybe some potatoes, you may have some yam, and then you may have something like spinach. All of those things combined together basically work together to help to bring your cholesterol down. So actually, we've seen that when it comes to lowering cholesterol, you're doing it by actually adding things to work together. That combination, definitely.
Yeah. Where is it derived from? Omega-3. Where is it derived from?
It comes from the oils within the fish, so the natural fatty acids within the fish. So what they do is they isolate it and put it into a tablet.
Okay. I thought maybe, sometimes these pharma people, they try to manufacture certain things into the multivitamins that we have already, just to, make more money. That was my thinking, So I think I've got the right place, the right person to ask this question, and I'm satisfied with that. Thank you very much.
And Honorable, you're very right. In fact, oftentimes what happens is they will do these what we call like seeker studies, where you may have heard of a health claim, and then pharma will, or one of these big companies will look into research for what these health claims might do. They might get a little bit of they might get some useful outcomes, and then they can create a product based off those outcomes. And because they have the big name behind them, I won't name any names, they can then produce a product and market it and say, hey, listen, in some studies, we've been able to prove that it can do this, this, and that. So people are more inclined to make those sorts of purchases and things like that. I must add a proviso, though, that when it comes to cholesterol, though, and omega-3 tablets and things like that, a lot of people in our communities, in the African Caribbean community, may have raised cholesterol or familial hypercholesterolemia, where they have like the genetic form of raised cholesterol. With familial hypercholesterolemia, your cholesterol is raised not because of diet, but because you have a set of genes that doesn't switch off your cholesterol production when you go to sleep at night, meaning that you just overproduce cholesterol naturally. So even if you followed a very healthy diet, you would still need medication to control your blood sugar, not your blood sugars, your blood cholesterol. Statins work very, very, very powerfully. And even more powerfully now than they did before. So if your cholesterol is also very, very raised and you've been approached concerning a statin, really speak to your GP about why you've been approached for one. It's not big pharma telling you that you need to take this to lower your cholesterol. It's basically a life-saving measure. So you know how back home you'll be with your family, and then you just hear that a relative has just passed away, and you say, "Oh, what a shock!" You hear that they're 65. How did
they wasn't sick?
If they weren't sick, how did they die? It was a heart attack. How did they have a heart attack when there was no symptoms or anything like that? Because carrying high cholesterol and high blood pressure, there's no symptoms. You will never feel it a day in your life. You wouldn't feel anything different. So if ever anyone's ever approached for a statin, really, really consider it, because they can bring your cholesterol down very, very quickly and keep it down for the rest of your life with minimal side effects.
Brilliant answer. Brilliant. Okay, yeah.
And that definitely that adds to the importance of kind of knowing your family history, kind of knowing where does different members of the family have in terms of what conditions do they have, what are you prone to, because then you can kind of map out your health as long as you're following a healthy lifestyle. You can map out if you can avoid certain things and how you can navigate these issues. And also to remember that you can most of the things that are sold on the shelf you can achieve in your diet. So you can get walnuts and you've got omega-3s, and you can have flaxseed oil. So you can add some things to your diet and you can achieve some of that extra omega-3s. Just like Alistair said, if we're having a salmon versus having a capsule, then we're achieving some of those omega-3s that we want to have, which are classed as cardioprotective. And that's one of the most important things. That's probably why you may get the push around omega-3s, is because it's been known to be cardioprotective.
Wow. These are brilliant answers that I've got this night. And seriously speaking, initially, I thought that dietitians are just people who, they work at the school, put this into the food, put this here, put this that, But through this program, seriously speaking, I think you are the main doctors that we should be seeing.
Honorable, that's funny.
I'm telling you, it's real.
Our time is up, Honorable.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'll take that though. We'll take that. Thank you, Honorable.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people think about dietitians and nutritionists. You cook, you teach people how to cook delicious.
We get that. We do get time.
Yeah.
Anyway, unfortunately, I don't know. I just realized our time was already up. I didn't manage the time properly today. Quayera, do you have any final words? Few seconds. As you can see, Orlando is ready to start his session. Any final words, please?
Final words is talk to your family about existing conditions. Try and get your records open. Know your numbers. Be familiar with your numbers and be open to talk about any of your health issues. One thing I didn't say in the beginning is because I'm passionate about supporting men through their health journeys. So I want men to definitely take control of their health a lot better than we do.
Perfect. I'll bring you back at the beginning of the year 2024 for you to come and talk about men's health with Alistair. Alistair, final words, please. Thank you, Kwayera.
I just wanted to just say thank you. I just wanted to just say thank you for giving us a platform to just make sure we can get these messages out to our communities. It's been a pleasure. So working alongside Kwayera and working alongside you. So as long as we can keep getting these health messages out to the people, evidence-based health, all that matters. That's all that matters to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for the engagement. Thank you, Honorable. That was a very great question and comment. Yeah. And I hope to see you all next Tuesday, same time. Thank you all. Please try and stay on if you can and engage in the boxercise or exercise session by Orlando. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's see, spotlighted. There we go, we're good to go. I think I'm still smiling about that comment. What a comment. But thank you to everybody. Thank you to all the panel that was involved in that seminar. Hope everybody enjoyed it and took something away. All right, I hope everyone is staying on for the exercise portion of today's session. Today we have our final box exercise class. From next week, we're going to change it back to circuits or split body circuits. And next week, we'll start with a leg circuit. All right, so let's get a big session in tonight. Last box exercise session. For tonight's session, all you will need is a space, plenty of water, and a good fighting attitude. All right, so timer reached a little bit over. Let's get started now with our warm-up. Let me sort my shoes out.
Shit loud.
All right, so we should have felt 2 straight, 2 uppercuts. Nice and light. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's get into it, people. Let's go. Nice and light. Try to increase that heart rate. Get the blood flowing. Warm those joints up. One. Okay, now let's go straight. Your toes. Oh, now I'm going to touch the floor, touch the ceiling. Let's go. Three, one, okay, pause there, 15 seconds. A quick shake off. Everybody straight back into the warm up. All right, and get ready. Let's go in reverse order. Let's start with the floor, stretch high to the ceiling. 3, 2, 1, go. That going, keep that going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to your straights. There your toes. Keep that going, people. Keep that going, keep that going. 3, 2, 1. Okay, give me 2 straight, 2 uppercuts. Let's go. Keep that going, people. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so dynamic stretches now. Let's swing one out forward. Now backward. Let's change it up now. Now backwards. Okay, hit waist, nice, big circles. Okay, direction. To the front. And to the back. 2, 1, and time, 3, 4. Okay, quick 20-second water break, and then we're going to climb in the ring for round number 1. Well done. Okay, people, let's go now. Game time, last boxing session. Let's make it a big one. All right, so we're starting off nice and hard. We're starting off with a leg round. If you're new to the calls, we box for 3 minutes. So every round we do is a full boxing round, so full 3-minute round. All right, so we've got boxing mixed with the legs. All right, so the combination will stay the same throughout. but the leg exercise will increase. All right, so let me show you the first bit here. So we're gonna go here, jab, cross. Then we've got 10 uppercuts for speed. Okay, once you've done that, you only one squat jump. So here, squat jump. If you're not able to do a squat jump, then a regular squat is fine. So let's go here. Bang. Then you go straight back to your combo. So we're here again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Now I need 2 squat jumps or squats. Here. And then we're back to the combo. We go wham, bam, bam, 10 uppercuts, and then we go 3 squats or squat jumps. Okay. Once you get to your 3 squat jumps or squats, then you start right back at 1. Okay, and we're going to work that throughout the 3-minute round. Let's give it a try, people. Game time now. Leg work. Let's go. Get ready now. Get yourself ready. We're going to go on the drum. If you can hear the tunes in the background. Get ready. In your guard now. In your guard. Start with one combo, 1 squat. Get ready. Got it. 3, 2, 1. Down. So I hit 3, now back to 1. Let's go, people. Keep that going now. It's over a minute gone, people. Keep working for me. Okay, that's halfway. 90 seconds to go. Keep putting it together. Last minute, last minute. "45 seconds, my people. Keep working. Let's go. "30 seconds to go. "15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's time, people. Well done. Round 1 down. Back to your corners. Take on some water. 45-second break. And we're back in for round number 2. Over. Five seconds, people. Okay, let's get it back started now, people. So round number 2, we have a boxing, a combination round. It's a pyramid round, all right? So we're gonna do here. We're gonna go, instead of being in our guard, we're gonna go straight up. All right, got some cardio movement here too. So we're gonna start here, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And for the first 90 seconds, we're gonna go with star jumps. We're gonna go here, 1, 2. Okay, then from there, I need 4, 4, 4. So we're here, 3, 4, 3, 4, and then 4 star jumps. And then we go from 6s, 8s, 10s. Okay, if you can get through all of that, once you get to 10, 10, 10, then start back at 2. All right. Second 90 seconds, we're going to change the exercise to high knees. All right, same combination. So it'll be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and then 4, 6, 8, 10. But don't worry about that. Worry about this one first. We're going to go star jumps for the first 90 seconds. All right, so 2, 2 star jumps. Let's try that round now, people. Come on. Let's go. Pyramid round now, people. Let's go. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Don't start with 2. Four now. 8. 10. Okay, 10. And straight back to 2. 30 seconds left, and we're going to change the exercise. Ten seconds. Okay, people, keep the punches the same. Change the exercise to high knees. Let's go. Okay, 10, straight back to 2. 30 seconds left. Ten seconds. One. People rest, guys. Back to your corners. 45-second break. And I'll be back for our third and final round. Welcome. Ten seconds, people. Okay, people, third and final round coming your way. So we're going back to legs now, okay? Combination with legs. This round will be split into 6 30-second parts or 30-second segments. So we'll box, we'll have a punching combinations part and mixed in with a leg exercise. All right, so for your first minute, we're going to be in our guard here. I need a 1, 2, 3, 4, hook, cross, hook, cross. Okay, that won't change, that will stay the same. Okay, so 4 straights, left hook, right cross, left hook, right cross. We're going to go there for 30 seconds, and then from there, we've got forward lunges. Okay, so front lunges. So we're here, we're down, 90 degrees on both legs, power up from the lead leg, and then we're going to change legs. So we're there, power up, and we're going to go for 30 seconds hard. Once you've done that, you're straight back into the combo, and then we're going to change the exercise. All right, people, let's get going now. Last round, let's go. Last round. We're going to start with the combo. Get ready. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, 10 seconds. Second. Good combo. Let's go. Great second. Now reverse lunges. We're going back in. Great second. 3, 2, 1, back to the combo. All right. 10 seconds. One side lunges. 10 seconds. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, take a quick 30-second break, and then we'll do our stretch off further. Okay, people, let's stretch off now. Find a space. I'm going to start with the neck. I'm going to turn our neck side to side, like so. Hit the shoulder. Up and down. Our dog stretching ceiling. Bring it around. Up. Around. Okay, let's hit the hips. Same direction. From the back. The last one with the legs and the quads. Legs together. Bring your heels to your foot. Change legs. And down. Take it all off. And that's time, people. Well done. Big pat on the back for that. I'm not sure if we have praise or stam around.
Hi, Orlando. Thank you so much. Absolutely love this session. You've got me sweating here. Thank you for this session. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. Hope you guys enjoyed something from it and hope to see you guys next week. See you. Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Bye.